Maya Rodriguez walked through the hallways of Lincoln High School with her head held high, but inside, her stomach twisted into knots. Today was Military Appreciation Day, and students were encouraged to share stories about their family members who served in the armed forces. Maya had been looking forward to this day for weeks, eager to finally talk about her mother's incredible service as a Navy SEAL. The morning assembly was held in the school's main auditorium, where Principal Thompson stood at the podium welcoming families and veterans who had come to share their experiences. Maya's eyes scanned the crowd, hoping to spot her mother among the attendees, but Sarah Rodriguez was deployed overseas and wouldn't be back for another 3 months. Now, we'll hear from some of our students about their family members' military service, Principal Thompson announced. Who would like to go first? Several hands shot up around the auditorium. Tommy Martinez talked about his grandfather who fought in Vietnam. Jessica Chen shared stories about her father's deployment in Afghanistan. Each story was met with respectful applause and genuine interest from the audience. When Maya finally raised her hand, her heart was pounding. She walked to the microphone with confidence, thinking about all the incredible things her mother had accomplished. Sarah Rodriguez had been one of the first women to complete SEAL training when the program opened to women. She had served multiple deployments in dangerous locations, earned numerous commendations, and was currently leading a special operations team in the Middle East. "My mother is Commander Sarah Rodriguez," Maya began, her voice clear and proud. "She's a Navy SEAL and has been serving our country for 15 years. She completed SEAL training in 2018 and has since led multiple missions in hostile territories. She earned the Bronze Star for her actions during a rescue mission in Syria, and she's currently deployed as a team leader for special operations." The auditorium fell silent, but not the respectful kind of silence that had followed the other students' presentations. This was a different silence, heavy with skepticism and disbelief. Maya could see the expressions on faces in the crowd, changing from interest to doubt. "Are you sure about that, Maya?" came a voice from the audience. It was Mrs. Patterson, the school's history teacher and wife of a retired Marine colonel. "The Navy SEALs only began allowing women to attempt training recently, and very few have actually completed the program." Maya felt her cheeks burning. "Yes, ma'am. My mother was one of the first women to complete the training. She's been deployed multiple times and—" "That's quite a story," interrupted Brad Hoffman, a senior whose father was in the Army National Guard. "But everyone knows women can't be SEALs. Maybe your mom is in the Navy, but she's definitely not a SEAL." Murmurs began rippling through the auditorium. Maya could hear whispers and see students turning to each other with raised eyebrows and skeptical expressions. Her face grew hotter as she realized the entire assembly was doubting her. "I'm not making this up," Maya said, her voice starting to shake. "My mother really is a SEAL. I have pictures and—" "Pictures can be faked," called out Jennifer Walsh, one of the popular girls from Maya's grade. "My dad says women aren't physically capable of SEAL training. It's just biology." Principal Thompson tried to restore order. "Let's please show respect for all our students and their family members." But the damage was done. More voices joined in, some students openly laughing, others shaking their heads in disbelief. Maya stood at the microphone, feeling completely alone and humiliated. She had expected to share her pride in her mother's achievements, not to be called a liar in front of the entire school. "She's obviously lying," someone said loud enough for everyone to hear. "Probably just wants attention." Maya's eyes filled with tears, but she refused to let them fall. She looked out at the sea of doubting faces and felt her mother's strength flowing through her. Sarah Rodriguez had taught her daughter to stand up for the truth, no matter how difficult it became. "My mother is Commander Sarah Rodriguez, and she is a Navy SEAL," Maya repeated, her voice stronger now despite the tears threatening to spill. "Just because you don't believe it doesn't make it less true." She walked back to her seat amid continued whispers and murmurs. The assembly continued with more presentations, but Maya barely heard them. Her classmates kept glancing back at her with amused expressions, and she could feel the weight of their judgment. After the assembly, things only got worse. In the hallway, groups of students gathered around Maya, bombarding her with questions that felt more like accusations. "So your mom is really a Navy SEAL?" Brad Hoffman asked with a smirk. "What's her unit number? What missions has she been on? Can you prove any of this?" Maya tried to answer, but every response she gave was met with more skepticism. When she mentioned that her mother's service details were classified, the students laughed even harder. "How convenient," said Jennifer Walsh. "Everything's classified, so you don't have to prove anything." "Look, I get that you want your mom to sound cool," said Danny Peterson, trying to sound reasonable. "But you don't have to make up stories. Being in the Navy is already impressive enough." Maya felt frustrated, tears building again. "I'm not making anything up. My mother earned her Trident pin. She completed Hell Week. She saved lives in combat situations." "Yeah, right," scoffed Michelle Adams. "Next, you'll tell us she's best friends with the president." The harassment continued throughout the day. During lunch, Maya sat alone at a corner table, picking at her food while nearby tables buzzed with conversation about her lies. She could hear snippets of discussion about how embarrassing it was that she felt the need to fabricate such an elaborate story. Her phone buzzed with a text from her best friend Emma, who attended a different school. "How did the Military Day presentation go? I bet everyone was amazed by your mom's story." Maya stared at the message, not knowing how to respond. How could she explain that everyone thought she was a fraud, that the achievement she was most proud of had become a source of humiliation? In her afternoon classes, teachers who had heard about the morning's events looked at Maya with a mixture of sympathy and concern. Mrs. Patterson approached her after history class. "Maya, dear, I hope you understand that I wasn't trying to embarrass you earlier," the teacher said gently. "It's just that military service records are very important and accuracy matters. Perhaps there was some confusion about your mother's exact role in the Navy?" Maya felt her jaw clench. "There's no confusion, Mrs. Patterson. My mother is a Navy SEAL. I've lived on military bases my entire life. I know what she does." Mrs. Patterson nodded slowly, but her expression remained doubtful. "Of course, dear. I'm sure your mother serves with great distinction in whatever capacity she's in." The dismissive tone in the teacher's voice made Maya's hands ball into fists. Even the adults thought she was lying or confused. By the time the final bell rang, Maya was exhausted from defending herself. She walked to her locker, hoping to grab her things and escape to the safety of her home. But even there, she'd be alone with her thoughts and the crushing weight of not being believed. As she gathered her books, she overheard a conversation between two teachers in the nearby faculty lounge. "Poor thing, probably just misunderstood what her mother does," one was saying. "Children often exaggerate their parents' jobs to seem more important." "It's sad, really," replied the other. "The need for attention can make kids create these elaborate fantasies." Maya slammed her locker shut, the sound echoing through the now empty hallway. She shouldered her backpack and walked toward the exit, each step feeling heavier than the last. Outside, the buses were loading with students, many of whom were still talking about the morning's fake presentation. As she waited for her bus, Maya pulled out her phone and scrolled through photos of her mother in uniform. There was Sarah in her dress blues, proudly displaying her Trident pin. Another photo showed her with her SEAL team after a successful training exercise. Maya had dozens of pictures that proved her mother's service, but she knew that even these wouldn't convince her doubters. The bus ride home was torture. Maya sat in the back, trying to ignore the whispered conversations and occasional glances from other students. She put in her earbuds and stared out the window, thinking about her mother's words from their last video call. "Remember, Maya," Sarah had said, "the truth doesn't need validation from people who refuse to see it." Your job is to stand in your truth, regardless of what others choose to believe. Maya wished her mother were here now. Sarah Rodriguez had faced skepticism and discrimination throughout her military career, breaking barriers and proving doubters wrong at every turn. She had earned her place among the Navy's elite special operations forces through sheer determination, skill, and courage. But Maya was just a 16-year-old girl trying to honor her mother's service, and today had made her feel smaller than she'd ever felt in her life. When the bus finally reached her stop, Maya walked the 3 blocks to her house with heavy steps. The small military housing unit felt emptier than usual without her mother's presence. Maya dropped her backpack by the door and walked to the living room, where framed photos and commendations covered one wall like a shrine to Sarah's career. She stood in front of her mother's Bronze Star citation, reading the words that described Sarah's heroic actions during a hostage rescue mission. The official document detailed how Commander Rodriguez had led her team into enemy territory to extract civilians under heavy fire, saving 12 lives in the process. Maya touched the glass frame gently. Tomorrow she would have to face her classmates again, knowing they all thought she was a liar and an attention seeker. She would have to endure more whispers, more skeptical looks, more condescending comments about her confused understanding of her mother's job. But tonight, alone in the quiet house, Maya made a decision. She wouldn't back down or change her story. She wouldn't apologize for being proud of her mother's incredible achievements. Sarah Rodriguez was a Navy SEAL, one of the best in the service, and Maya would continue to speak that truth regardless of who chose to believe it. She picked up her phone and began typing a message to her mother, knowing it might be hours or even days before Sarah could respond from her deployment location. "Mom, I told everyone at school about your service today. They don't believe me. They think I'm making it all up. I wish you were here." Maya sent the message and sat down on the couch, surrounded by evidence of her mother's extraordinary career. Tomorrow would bring more challenges, more doubt, and more humiliation. But Maya Rodriguez was the daughter of a Navy SEAL, and she had inherited more of her mother's strength than anyone at Lincoln High School could possibly imagine. The next morning arrived with the same gray clouds that seemed to match Maya's mood. She had barely slept, tossing and turning while replaying yesterday's humiliation over and over in her mind. Her phone showed no response from her mother yet, which wasn't unusual given the time difference and communication restrictions during deployment, but Maya had hoped for some guidance on how to handle the situation. She dressed slowly, dreading the thought of walking into Lincoln High School and facing another day of skeptical stares and whispered comments. Maya had considered pretending to be sick, but she knew her mother wouldn't approve of running away from a challenge. The breakfast table felt enormous without Sarah's presence. Maya pushed cereal around in her bowl while checking social media on her phone. Her heart sank when she saw that someone had recorded part of yesterday's assembly and posted it online. The video showed Maya at the microphone talking about her mother's SEAL service, followed by the audible reactions of disbelief from the audience. The comments under the video were even worse than she had imagined. Students from her school had tagged their friends, sharing laughing emojis and making jokes about fake military kids. Some comments were cruel, calling Maya a pathological liar and suggesting she needed professional help for her delusions. But what hurt most were the comments that seemed almost sympathetic, like, "Poor girl probably just wishes her mom was more important," and "It's sad when kids have to make up stories for attention." These felt worse than the outright mockery because they painted Maya as a troubled child rather than someone simply sharing the truth about her family. Maya deleted the social media apps from her phone and finished getting ready for school. As she walked to the bus stop, she noticed Mrs. Chen from next door watering her garden. The elderly woman had always been friendly, often chatting with Sarah about military life since her own husband had served in the Air Force. "Good morning, Maya," Mrs. Chen called out. "How did your presentation go yesterday? I'm sure everyone was impressed to hear about your mother's service." Maya felt a lump form in her throat. At least one person in the neighborhood believed her. "It was challenging," Maya replied carefully. "Some people have trouble believing that women can be SEALs." Mrs. Chen's face darkened with understanding. "Ah, I see. Your mother faces that kind of ignorance in her career too, doesn't she? People who can't accept change, even when it's been happening for years." She set down her watering can and walked closer to the fence. "You know, dear, I've met your mother many times. I've seen her dedication, her discipline, her strength. Anyone who knows Sarah Rodriguez knows exactly what kind of warrior she is." Maya felt tears prick her eyes at the validation. "Thank you, Mrs. Chen." "That means a lot." "Stand tall today," the older woman said firmly. "Truth doesn't become less true because small minds can't accept it." The bus ride to school was a continuation of yesterday's nightmare. Maya could feel eyes on her as she boarded, and the conversations quieted momentarily before resuming in hushed tones. She chose a seat near the front, hoping to avoid the worst of the commentary, but she could still hear snippets of discussion behind her. "I can't believe she's still pretending," someone whispered. "My dad looked it up last night," said another voice. "There are only like a handful of women who have ever completed SEAL training, and none of them are named Rodriguez." Maya's hands clenched in her lap. She wanted to turn around and explain that her mother's service record might not be publicly accessible due to the classified nature of her current assignment, but she knew it would only fuel more skepticism. At school, the hallway conversation stopped when Maya approached, only to resume in whispers once she passed. Her first period teacher, Mr. Williams, gave her a sympathetic look, but didn't say anything about yesterday's events. Maya appreciated his discretion, though she could tell he had heard about what happened. During second period English class, things took a turn for the worse. Mrs. Patterson had apparently spoken with other teachers about Maya's situation, because Mr. Johnson addressed it directly during their discussion of truth and fiction in literature. "Class, we've been talking about the difference between fact and fiction in storytelling," he began, his eyes briefly meeting Maya's. "Sometimes, people blur these lines in real life too. They might exaggerate or embellish stories to make them more interesting or impressive." Maya felt her face burning as several classmates turned to look at her. She knew exactly what Mr. Johnson was doing, even though he wasn't mentioning her by name. "Now, there's nothing wrong with having pride in your family," he continued, "but it's important to be honest about the facts. Military service is honorable in any capacity, whether someone is a cook, a mechanic, or even in special operations. Every role matters." Jennifer Walsh raised her hand. "Mr. Johnson, what if someone claims their family member has a job that's really rare or special, but they can't prove it?" Maya's stomach dropped. She could see where this was heading. "Well, Jennifer, extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence," Mr. Johnson replied. "If someone says their relative is an astronaut or a professional athlete, for example, there would typically be some way to verify that information." "But what if they say everything is classified?" Brad Hoffman chimed in, smirking directly at Maya. Mr. Johnson cleared his throat, clearly uncomfortable with the direction of the discussion. "Military operations can indeed be classified, but basic service information is usually verifiable through official channels." Maya had heard enough. She raised her hand, her voice steady despite the anger building inside her. "Mr. Johnson, are you suggesting that students shouldn't share stories about their family members unless they can provide documentation?" The teacher looked flustered. "Of course not, Maya. I'm simply emphasizing the importance of accuracy when discussing real events. And if the real events happen to be extraordinary, Then the student must be lying. Maya pressed on, her mother's courage flowing through her. The classroom fell silent. Even Mr. Johnson seemed taken aback by Maya's direct challenge. Several students shifted uncomfortably in their seats, while others watched with anticipation, as if they were witnessing a confrontation they had been expecting. "I never said anyone was lying, Maya," Mr. Johnson replied carefully. "I was speaking in general terms about the importance of factual accuracy." Maya stood up slowly, her chair scraping against the floor in the quiet room. "My mother is Commander Sarah Rodriguez of the United States Navy SEALs. She has served our country with distinction for 15 years, completed the most rigorous training in the military, and is currently leading special operations overseas. These are the facts, regardless of who chooses to believe them." She gathered her books and walked toward the door. "I'll be in the principal's office if anyone needs me. I'd rather sit in detention than listen to more general discussions about honesty." Maya left the classroom amid stunned silence, her heart pounding with adrenaline. She had never defied a teacher before, but she couldn't sit there while Mr. Johnson essentially called her a liar in front of the entire class. Principal Thompson's secretary looked surprised when Maya appeared at the main office. "Is everything all right, dear?" "I just walked out of Mr. Johnson's class," Maya admitted. "I'm sure he'll call down here soon." Indeed, within minutes, the phone rang, and Maya was called into Principal Thompson's office. The middle-aged man looked tired as he gestured for Maya to sit down. "Maya, I understand you're dealing with a difficult situation," he began gently. "Yesterday's assembly seems to have created some tension." "Principal Thompson, my mother is a Navy SEAL," Maya said firmly. "I know that's hard for some people to believe, but it's the truth. I'm not going to sit in classes where teachers make pointed comments about students who supposedly lie about their families." Principal Thompson sighed heavily. "Maya, I want you to know that this school respects all military families. However, when students make claims that can't be easily verified, it can create disruption." "Can't be easily verified?" Maya repeated, feeling her anger rising again. "My mother's service is documented by the United States Navy. Just because it's not convenient for you to verify doesn't mean it's not real." "I understand your frustration," the principal said. "But surely you can see how unusual your mother's position would be. Perhaps there's been some miscommunication about her exact role." Maya cut him off. "There's no miscommunication. My mother earned her Trident pin. She completed Bud S training. She's deployed as a special operations team leader. I have lived this reality my entire life." Principal Thompson leaned back in his chair, clearly struggling with how to handle the situation. "Maya, I'm going to need you to provide some documentation of your mother's service, not because I doubt you personally, but because this situation is affecting the school environment." Maya felt a chill run down her spine. "You're asking me to prove my mother's military service?" "I'm asking for verification, yes. A simple confirmation from the Navy would clear this up and put everyone's minds at ease." Maya stared at the principal in disbelief. "You want me to contact the United States Navy to prove to my high school classmates that my mother is who she says she is?" "I think it would be beneficial for everyone involved," Principal Thompson said carefully. Maya stood up abruptly. "I'm not doing that. My mother's service record is not up for debate by teenagers who think they know everything about the military. If you want verification, you can contact the Navy yourself." She headed for the door, then turned back. "And Principal Thompson, when my mother returns from her deployment, I'm sure she'll be very interested to hear how her daughter was treated for sharing the truth about her service." Maya left the office and walked to her locker, ignoring the stares from students in the hallway. She grabbed her things and checked the time. It was still early in the school day, but she couldn't imagine sitting through more classes where she'd be treated like a delusional child. As she walked toward the exit, her phone buzzed with a text message. Her heart leaped when she saw it was from her mother, despite the early morning hour in the deployment zone. Got your message. Sorry you're dealing with this, sweetheart. People fear what they don't understand. Stay strong. I'm proud of you for speaking the truth. Something big is coming your way soon. Love you. Maya read the message 3 times, feeling a surge of strength from her mother's words. Something big is coming your way soon. What did that mean? Sarah Rodriguez wasn't someone who made empty promises or vague statements. If she said something was coming, it meant she was already putting plans in motion. Maya walked home with a new sense of determination. She didn't know what her mother had planned, but she trusted Sarah Rodriguez completely. The woman who had fought through every barrier to become one of the Navy's elite warriors wasn't going to let her daughter face this battle alone. That afternoon, Maya sat in her backyard, studying her mother's commendations and trying to imagine what kind of response Sarah might be orchestrating. Whatever it was, Maya knew it would be swift, decisive, and absolutely unforgettable. Her mother hadn't earned her reputation by backing down from fights, and Maya had a feeling that Lincoln High School was about to learn exactly what it meant to challenge the honor of a Navy SEAL's family. The sun was setting when Maya finally went inside, her mother's message still glowing on her phone screen. Tomorrow would bring whatever Sarah Rodriguez had planned, and Maya could hardly wait to see the expressions on everyone's faces when the truth finally came marching through the front doors of Lincoln High School. Maya woke up on Friday morning with a strange sense of anticipation. Her mother's cryptic text from yesterday kept replaying in her mind. Something big is coming your way soon. Sarah Rodriguez was deployed thousands of miles away, so Maya couldn't imagine what kind of intervention her mother could orchestrate from overseas. Still, she trusted her mother's word completely. The morning routine felt different somehow, charged with an electric energy that Maya couldn't quite explain. She dressed carefully in her best clothes, something telling her that today would be important. Her phone showed no new messages from her mother, but Maya wasn't worried. When Sarah Rodriguez said something would happen, it happened. At breakfast, Maya noticed a strange rumbling sound outside, like heavy vehicles moving through the usually quiet neighborhood. She peered through the kitchen window but couldn't see anything unusual from her vantage point. The sound faded as quickly as it had come, leaving Maya wondering if she had imagined it. The bus ride to school was tense as usual, with Maya enduring the same whispers and skeptical glances that had become routine over the past 2 days. She sat quietly, her mother's confidence flowing through her veins. Whatever was coming, she would be ready for it. Lincoln High School looked the same as always when Maya arrived, but something felt different in the air. She couldn't pinpoint exactly what it was, perhaps the way some teachers were checking their phones more frequently or how the office staff seemed unusually alert. Maya went to her locker and began gathering her books for first period. "Maya Rodriguez, please report to the main office immediately." The announcement over the intercom made every head in the hallway turn toward Maya. She felt her heart skip a beat, wondering if this was connected to her mother's mysterious message. The whispers around her intensified as students speculated about why she was being called to the office again. Maya walked through the hallways with measured steps, ignoring the stares and comments from her classmates. As she approached the main office, she noticed several teachers huddled together in urgent conversation, their faces showing expressions of surprise and concern. Something was definitely happening. Principal Thompson's secretary looked flustered when Maya arrived. "Oh, Maya, good. Principal Thompson needs to see you right away. Well, just go right in." Maya knocked on the principal's office door and entered to find Principal Thompson standing by the window, his face pale and his hands trembling slightly as he held his phone. "Maya," he said, his voice unsteady, "I need to ask you something very important. Is your mother currently deployed overseas?" Maya's pulse quickened. "Yes, sir. She's been deployed for 6 months on a classified mission. Why?" Principal Thompson set down his phone and looked at Maya with an expression she had never seen before, part fear, part amazement, part deep regret. "Because," he said slowly, "there are currently 12 members of the United States Navy SEALs standing in our parking lot, and they're asking to speak with anyone who has questioned the service of Commander Sarah Rodriguez." Maya felt the world tilt on its axis. Her mother had done it. Somehow, from thousands of miles away, Sarah Rodriguez had sent her SEAL unit to Lincoln High School. Maya's heart swelled with pride and love for the woman who would move heaven and earth to protect her daughter's honor. "They want to address the entire school," Principal Thompson continued, his voice barely above a whisper. "They say there have been some misunderstandings about their commanding officer's daughter, and they'd like to clear things up." Maya couldn't help the smile that spread across her face. "I think that would be a very good idea, Principal Thompson." Within minutes, the entire school was buzzing with activity. Teachers scrambled to organize an emergency assembly, while students pressed their faces against windows to catch glimpses of the Navy SEALs in the parking lot. Maya could hear the excitement and disbelief echoing through the hallways as words spread like wildfire. "There are actual Navy SEALs here?" "They came for Maya Rodriguez." "Oh my God, her mom really is a SEAL." Maya walked to the auditorium with Principal Thompson, who kept glancing at her with newfound respect and obvious nervousness. The same space where she had been humiliated 2 days ago was now filling with students and teachers, all talking in animated voices about the unprecedented visit. As they entered the auditorium, Maya saw them. 12 of the most elite warriors in the United States military, standing at attention in their dress uniforms. These were her mother's teammates, the people Sarah Rodriguez worked alongside in the most dangerous missions imaginable. Maya recognized a few faces from video calls and photos her mother had shared. The tallest SEAL stepped forward as Principal Thompson approached. His nameplate read, Peterson, and Maya remembered her mother mentioning Lieutenant Commander Peterson as her second-in-command. "Principal Thompson," Peterson said in a voice that commanded immediate attention, "I'm Lieutenant Commander Peterson, United States Navy SEALs. We understand there has been some confusion about Commander Rodriguez and her daughter's truthfulness regarding her mother's service." Principal Thompson nodded mutely, clearly overwhelmed by the situation he had helped create. "We've traveled a considerable distance to address this matter," Peterson continued. "Commander Rodriguez is currently leading critical operations overseas, but she wanted her unit to personally ensure that her daughter receives the respect and support she deserves." Maya felt tears building in her eyes. Her mother had mobilized an entire SEAL unit to defend her honor. The love and protection wrapped in that gesture was almost overwhelming. The auditorium filled quickly as students and faculty took their seats. Maya could see the faces of her classmates as they stared in awe at the Navy SEALs. Brad Hoffman looked like he might faint. Jennifer Walsh sat with her mouth hanging open. Even Mrs. Patterson appeared stunned into silence. Lieutenant Commander Peterson approached the microphone, and the entire auditorium fell silent. When a Navy SEAL speaks, people listen. "Ladies and gentlemen," Peterson began, his voice carrying easily through the large space. "We are members of SEAL Team 7, United States Navy. We serve under the command of Commander Sarah Rodriguez, and we are here today because of attacks on her character and her family." Maya could hear whispers of, "Oh my God," and "This is really happening," from various parts of the auditorium. 2 days ago, Peterson continued, Commander Rodriguez's daughter stood in this very room and shared the truth about her mother's service. She was called a liar. She was accused of seeking attention. She was told that her mother could not possibly be what she claimed. The SEAL's voice grew harder with each word, and Maya could see students sinking lower in their seats. Commander Sarah Rodriguez completed basic underwater demolition SEAL training in 2018, graduating in the top 5% of her class. She has led more than 37 successful missions across 3 combat zones. She has saved the lives of countless civilians and military personnel. She has earned the Bronze Star with V device for valor, 2 Purple Hearts, and the Navy and Marine Corps Commendation Medal with Combat V. Peterson paused, letting the weight of those achievements settle over the silent auditorium. 3 weeks ago, he continued, Commander Rodriguez led a hostage rescue mission that freed 8 American contractors from terrorist captivity. She was wounded in that operation, but refused medical evacuation until all hostages were safely recovered. She is currently recovering from her injuries while continuing to lead her team from a forward operating base. Maya gasped. Her mother was wounded and hadn't told her. The text message yesterday must have been sent from a medical facility. Another SEAL stepped forward, his nameplate reading, Garcia. He spoke with quiet intensity that somehow carried more weight than shouting would have. Commander Rodriguez is not just our commanding officer, Garcia said. She is our friend, our sister, and one of the finest warriors we have ever served with. When we learned that her daughter was being called a liar for speaking the truth about her mother's service, we requested immediate leave to address this situation personally. A third SEAL, identified as Chief Petty Officer Williams, approached the microphone. We want to be very clear about something, he said, looking directly at the students who had mocked Maya. Questioning the honor and integrity of a Gold Star family member is not just disrespectful, it's un-American. Maya Rodriguez has lived her entire life as a military child, making sacrifices that most of you cannot imagine, supporting a mother who risks her life to keep this country safe. The auditorium was so quiet that Maya could hear her own heartbeat. Every face in the crowd showed a mixture of shame, awe, and disbelief. Lieutenant Commander Peterson returned to the microphone for the final message. We have brought documentation of Commander Rodriguez's service record, minus the classified portions, for anyone who needs proof. But more importantly, we want this young woman to know that she has the full support of the United States Navy SEALs. Anyone who questions her truth questions us. He looked directly at Maya, his expression softening slightly. Your mother asked us to give you a message. Stand tall, warrior. The truth needs no defense when it has the right people standing behind it. Maya couldn't hold back her tears any longer. They flowed freely down her face as the 12 Navy SEALs stood at attention, honoring her and her mother with their presence. The silence in the auditorium stretched for several long moments before Principal Thompson finally approached the microphone, his hands visibly shaking. The entire Lincoln High School community owes Maya Rodriguez and her family a profound apology, he managed to say. We failed to show the respect and support that military families deserve. One by one, students began to stand. First Emma Chen, then surprisingly, Tommy Martinez, whose grandfather had served in Vietnam. Soon the entire auditorium was on its feet, applauding not just for the visiting SEALs, but for Maya and her mother's service. When the assembly finally ended, Maya was surrounded by classmates and teachers offering genuine apologies and expressions of respect. Brad Hoffman approached her with tears in his eyes. Maya, I'm so sorry, he said. I was wrong, and I was cruel. Your mother is a hero, and you didn't deserve what we put you through. Even Mrs. Patterson made her way over, her face red with embarrassment. Maya, dear, I owe you an enormous apology. I let my own limited knowledge cloud my judgment. Your mother's service is remarkable, and I'm ashamed of how I treated you. But the moment Maya would treasure forever came when Lieutenant Commander Peterson approached her personally as the SEALs prepared to leave. Your mother talks about you constantly, he said quietly. She's incredibly proud of the young woman you've become. She wanted us to tell you that standing up for the truth, even when it's difficult, is what makes someone a true warrior. He handed Maya a small package. She also wanted you to have this. Inside was her mother's backup trident pin, the golden symbol of the Navy SEALs, along with a note. For my daughter, who has the heart of a seal and the courage to stand alone for the truth. I love you, warrior. Mom. Maya hugged the pin to her chest as the Navy SEALs filed out of the auditorium, leaving behind a school forever changed by their visit. The girl, who had been called a fake for honoring her mother's service, was now surrounded by respect, admiration, and the unshakable knowledge that sometimes the truth just needs the right people to stand up and defend it. That evening, Maya received another text from her mother. Heard my team paid you a visit. Feeling better now? You handled yourself like a true SEAL's daughter. Can't wait to come home and hear all about it. Love you, my brave girl. Maya smiled as she typed her response. Mission accomplished, Commander. Your daughter is ready for whatever comes next. The truth had been defended, honor had been restored, and Maya Rodriguez had learned that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is simply refuse to back down from what you know is right. Her mother had taught her that lesson from thousands of miles away, and it was one she would carry with her for the rest of her life.